was so intense I thought my head was going to explode. I felt something warm running down my face, and when I brought my hand up to it, I realized it was blood. A lot of blood. I tried to open my eyes, but everything was red and blurry. That was the moment I understood. I would never see the same way again. This is the Sloom Room channel, and today I'm going to share with you a story I found while browsing paranormal experience forums on the internet. The story happened in Russia and was told by Dmitry in 2019. Stay with me until the end of this disturbing narrative, and if you like the content, leave that like to help me out. It all started when my cousin Alexei called me one afternoon in October. He was excited about a discovery he'd made, an abandoned mansion on the outskirts of Moscow that, according to the local residents, was haunted. Alexei had always been fascinated by this kind of thing. Urbex and abandoned places were practically a hobby for him. I, on the other hand, never really cared much about these stories. Ghosts, spirits. I always thought they were just legends created to scare children. But Alexei insisted so much that I ended up agreeing to go with him. The following weekend, we took his car and drove for almost 2 hours until we arrived at the place. The property was impressive, even in ruins. It had 3 floors, broken windows, peeling walls, and a garden completely taken over by wild plants. The gate was slightly open, rusty, and creaked in a sinister way when we pushed it. We went in through the front door, which had no lock. The inside smelled of mold and decay. There were pieces of furniture covered with white sheets, now gray from the accumulated dust. Paintings hung crooked on the walls. On the floor, chunks of plaster that had fallen from the ceiling. Alexei started taking pictures with his camera, as excited as a child in a toy store. We went up to the second floor. The wooden steps groaned under our feet, and I was sure that at any moment one of them would give way. Upstairs, we found several rooms. Most were empty, but one of them caught our attention. The walls were covered in faded floral wallpaper, and in the center there was a gigantic mirror from floor to ceiling with an ornate golden frame. The mirror was cracked in several places, as if someone had hit it hard, but the strangest thing was that even with the cracks, it still reflected perfectly. Alexei went closer and started taking pictures. I stayed back, watching. There was something wrong with that room. I can't exactly explain what, but the air felt heavier in there, colder. I felt a chill run down my spine. That was when I heard it, a whisper, very soft, almost imperceptible. I thought it was the wind coming in through the broken windows, but the more I paid attention, the clearer it became that they were words in a language I didn't recognize. I looked at Alexei, who kept taking pictures, oblivious to everything. I was about to call him when something made me turn back to the mirror. My reflection was there, but something was different. It took me a few seconds to realize the image in the mirror didn't move when I moved. It just stared at me, motionless, with an empty expression. My heart started racing. I took a step back, but the reflection stayed still. Then, slowly, it smiled. It wasn't my smile. It was something distorted, evil. I felt my legs go weak. Alexei finally noticed the state I was in. He asked me if I was okay, but I couldn't answer. I was hypnotized by that image in the mirror. The reflection raised its right hand and pointed at me. That was when I heard the crack. The mirror started to crack even more, lines spreading across the surface like spider webs. The sound was deafening in that silence. Alexei grabbed me by the arm, yelling for us to get out of there. But before we could move, the mirror exploded. Thousands of fragments flew in our direction. I lifted my arms, instinctively to protect my face, but I wasn't fast enough. I felt the shards cutting into my skin, tearing my clothes. And then the pain. A sharp, piercing pain in my right eye. I fell to my knees, screaming. Alexei was beside me, trying to help me, but I could barely hear him. All I could feel was that unbearable pain. I brought my hand to my face and felt the glass splinters embedded in my skin and in my eye. I don't know how we managed to get out of that house. Alexei practically carried me to the car. He drove at high speed to the nearest hospital, talking to me the whole way so I wouldn't pass out. I kept my hand over the injured eye, trying to stop the blood that wouldn't stop running. At the hospital, the doctors worked for hours. They removed several glass fragments from my face and from my eye. But the damage was already done. The cornea had been severely damaged. They told me there was a chance I could recover part of my vision with surgeries, but the following weeks proved otherwise. I had 3 surgeries. They all failed. The last one was 2 years ago. Today I'm completely blind in my right eye. The left one was also left with after effects, although less serious. I have to wear special glasses, and even then my vision is limited, blurry. But the worst part isn't the loss of vision. It's what I see when I close my eyes. Every night, I have the same nightmare. I'm back in that room, standing in front of that mirror, and my reflection is there, smiling at me with that distorted smile, pointing. And then the glass explodes again. Alexei never wanted to talk about what happened that day again. He deleted all the photos he took of the house. I tried to research the history of the mansion, but I didn't find anything besides vague rumors about family tragedies and inexplicable deaths. No one really knows what happened there. Sometimes I wonder if what I saw in that mirror was real or just a trick of my frightened mind. But then I touch the scars on my face, and I know that something happened in that place. Something that shouldn't exist. If you liked this story, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. And think twice before going into abandoned places.